It is Friday, the 20th of October 2023. Just rattling off a quick video. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, and I've got a fairly good excuse, which is that I've been moving house again. So I moved in summer 2020 up to Northamptonshire with the family. Sadly, things just didn't work out up there. It's been a period of great upheaval, great stress for the last 3.5 years, combined with what's been happening in the world, of course. So we've moved, and this is the first of 2 moves, so I've got to do it all again in a couple of months. You won't be getting a very interesting backdrop in the meantime. The CD racks and stuff will have to wait until I'm more settled. Hopefully 2024 is going to bring a period of more stability. It would be nice if that happened in the wider world, as well as in my life and everyone else's life. But for the moment, things remain in a state of upheaval, a bit like what's happening out there, you might say. Anyway, I just wanted to update you on a few things that I've got going on. With expert timing, I've got trips to the United States and Australia right in the midst of 2 house moves. So that was good planning, wasn't it? Actually, these trips were planned at the start of the year, to be fair, and the house move took way longer than it should have done, months and months. It just got dragged out interminably. And this is the way that everything's converged, but so be it. That's just the way it's happened. So I'm due to head out to Las Vegas later today in a matter of hours. This is to attend Flatoberfest. I've been invited to be a part of that conference. I'll be doing a presentation tomorrow, Saturday, for anyone that is going to be in Vegas for that event. My presentation is from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Then on Sunday, if you're going to be there, you've got allegedly Dave Murphy, who's also flying out from the UK to be a part of that event. It's a very quick trip for me. I'm back on the flight home Sunday evening, so it's literally just for the weekend. Then I'm home for a week, and then I'm off to Australia for my speaking tour there, leaving on Monday the 30th. My first gig is in Melbourne, suburbs of Melbourne, Wednesday 1st of November. Then it's over to Brisbane on Thursday the 2nd, sort of zigzagging around. It doesn't make the most geographical sense, but that's just the way it again converged. Then on Saturday the 4th of November I'm going to be in Sydney, and on Sunday the 5th in Perth. So if you're in Australia, not long now till these events. They're all evening events, kicking off around about 6:30, running to sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock, with the exception of the Sydney, which is an afternoon gig happening between 1 and 5 at Club Burwood. I'm going to be unpacking all of my Musical Truth information over the course of these events, and in the second part I'm going to be focusing specifically on some Australian artists. So going in on the Michael Hutchence situation, involving of course Paula Yates and Bob Geldof when you extend that whole thing out. Also Sia, very interesting artist to study it turns out. Kylie Minogue, I'm going to be going in on Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, a little bit on AC/DC. Rolf Harris, of course, can't leave him out. So if you are going to be in Australia or know anyone who is, that's the timetable for those events. Again, that's a very quick trip. I'm doing the whole thing within a week. A lot of people accuse me of going on jollies. They think these trips are some sort of holiday. I would like to see them handle this kind of schedule, handle the jet lag, handle all the stresses of travelling and stuff. I'm going to have no time to relax on this trip. It's literally just in, bang, 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 do the gigs, do the events, and straight back out again. I'm doing it largely because there was a point in 2020 where I honestly thought that I was never going to be able to travel internationally again. I'm sure many other people felt the same, and it would have been of concern to them. I'm someone that always has enjoyed travel. As a DJ, I was very fortunate to get to travel to many different parts of the world. I did several trips every year, and I just kind of took it for granted that I would always be able to do that. But in the back of my mind was always the thought that there might come a day, there might come an era where we're just not able to do this stuff easily anymore. It's almost as if I subconsciously knew what was going to be coming a few years down the line. So through the 1990s and 2000s, I deliberately travelled as widely as I could because I knew that there was a possibility that might get taken away from me. So right now I see a little window of opportunity to get a couple of trips in. These are my first long haul trips since 2019, and who knows what's around the corner. So I'm doing them while I can. I think the phrase is plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's also an exciting time in terms of my novel, The Gift and the Curse, being very close to dropping, hitting the streets. It's going to be a matter of days. I think it's going to turn out that it arrives just in time for Britain's 9/11. And this figures in the narrative of the story. So there's some beautiful synchronicity there. So that's 9th of November. The way that date is expressed in UK format is 9/11. And the narrative of this story is based around the events of 2001, 9/11 in the United States. But there's also a British version of that event, and it's centered around the 9th of November 2001. So I think I would like to make the official launch date for The Gift and the Curse 9/11/23. I think that's quite poetic. So this story catches up with many of the characters that were in The Cause and the Cure 10 years on. So that story took place in 1990 and 91. This one is 2001. So you've got Verity, you've got Keith, you've got May, you've got Drew, you've got Max Zeal, all recurring characters from that first story. There's a few others making a reappearance as well in cameo form, and there's a bundle of new characters introduced as well. I hope people will enjoy this story. I've endeavoured to make it better than the first one. I want it to be a sequel which actually surpasses its predecessor. You don't get many of those. I've certainly striven to achieve that. So I'm looking forward to that book coming out. It's going to be in print form and Kindle form first off, and then as soon as I get the opportunity, I will be voicing an audiobook version of The Gift and the Curse. So it's going to be on Amazon within a matter of days. But if anyone wants to get a signed copy from me direct, you can drop me an email. I'm using my Proton Mail address for that, which will be in the links below, the notes below. So drop me an email if you're interested, and we can arrange that. Something connected to that book that I want to get going as well is a few walking tours of Oxford. So, of course, the storyline to these two books takes place in the city of Oxford, which I know very well. It was my place of birth, and I grew up around there. So I really like the idea of taking a small group of interested people on a walking tour around the key points in Oxford where aspects of the narrative take place. And I'll fill you in with a bit of history and explain exactly what happened to the characters in these particular locations. I think people who enjoy the stories would find that really interesting. And if you've never been to Oxford, it is of course Illuminati Central. It's the breeding ground for all these so-called elite types. It's where they go to get all their indoctrination. And that makes it a fascinating city in which to set a story such as this. So if anyone fancies a visit to Oxford and to get taken around these various spots, I'm going to be arranging a small handful of tours. I think that'll probably kick off in December. I've got a lot going on through November, so I like the idea of doing the first of these tours in December, probably just before Christmas. So stay close to my platforms for that. I'll give more information as soon as I've put those tours together. Something else to mention is the MD archives. So I announced this in the previous video. This is something that's just started to take off. So the idea is that I purchase one of these, which is a 1 terabyte external disk drive. These are currently purchasing on or retailing on Amazon for £33. Nice number. The idea is that as part of the package, I purchase one of these. I fill it up with all this information. It consists of several hundred files. So you get every episode of Good Vibrations in audio MP3 form that there's ever been, going back to 2011, every episode of the Sound of Freedom Conscious Music podcast, going back to 2013, and on that front, watch out for a couple of 10th anniversary shows, which I've just put out. There's a dudes edition with some male guests, and there's a ladies edition with some female guests, where they're picking their favourite conscious music message tracks, and we're having some conversations based around those. So that show's been running for 10 years. You get every episode of that. You get every episode of the Magical Mystery Talk, Beatles related conversation podcast. You get the soundtracks to The Cause and the Cure and The Gift and the Curse, because those books come with their own music and dialogue based podcasts. You get the audiobook versions of Musical Truth 1, Musical Truth 3 and The Cause and the Cure, narrated by myself, and eventually there'll be the audiobook versions of the remaining books as well. And every interview that I've done going back to about 2012. So this is in audio and video format, and it totals over 400. So all in all, there's enough data there to keep you occupied for probably a decade if you watched it all back to back. It's a lot. So as part of the package, I purchased one of these discs, fill it up, mail it off to you by registered post. The cost of it is £50 basically for the service. I hope people will agree that with that amount of data, that represents tremendous value. Then there's the cost of the disc and the cost of the postage and packing on top of it. So if anyone's interested in availing themselves of the entire archive of work that I've put out over the past 15 years, by the way, there's also my regular video updates on there as well, which started with my infamous car rant in the middle of the Convid era. So there's all the updates I did week by week, talking about stuff that's been going on over the past 3.5 years. That's all part of it as well. If anyone's interested in getting hold of all of that in one place, drop me an email. Again, I'm using the Proton Mail for that, markdevlin2022 at protonmail.com, and that is in the notes below. I appeared on the Aussie Wire show with Topher Field just recently, talking about this upcoming Australian tour, so that'll be out very shortly. Big shout also to Andrew Hughes of the 8 News Network in Australia. I did a quick interview with him as well. I've got new episodes of Good Vibrations coming up. I'm guesting on a few more hosts' shows as well in the coming weeks. But that's what's happening at the moment. Immediately, the novel is going to be coming out. I've got these trips to the US and Australia to take care of. And as soon as I'm back from Australia, then many other things kick off big time as well, including that walking tour of Oxford. So that pretty much brings you up to date with stuff that I've been doing. Of course, there's madness going on in the world, turmoil, chaos, all sorts of stuff kicking off. I'm going to refrain from commenting on that at the moment because many others are doing a much better job of it, and it's changing day by day. For the moment, I'm just taking care of my business, and this is what it consists of, everything you've heard in this video. Thanks as ever to everyone for the kind support. I hope to see you out and about, particularly if you're in Australia in the next couple of weeks. And other than that, I'll catch up with you again soon. Well, I'm still in this particular home before I move on to the next one. Cheers for now.